Welcome to the VŌC Podcast.
Hi there, and welcome to a brand new episode of the VŌC Podcast. And today I'm back with a guest that we had on in the past, Corey Candray Cruz. The Cruz is your stage name, yeah?
It is a name that I used as a stage name many years ago, and more or less dropped using over the last 10 years.
So you don't really use it anymore, yeah?
Nope, only for postal stuff for the most part anymore, because that's how it came up in the credits when I first started. Was involved in the Postal game series.
Yeah. And Corey is the voice of the Postal Dude in Postal 3. And now he's also the Postal Dude of the new dude in Postal Brain Damaged. Isn't that amazing? I mean, did you think you'd ever be back?
Honestly, no. I mean, it had been so long since Postal 3 until just these last couple of years when I heard rumblings of them resurrecting, or doing the Postal 3. And I'm sorry, doing the Postal 4 and the brain damaged thing kind of came on the tail of that. Sorry, I'm trying to keep all these straight, but it had, a good 10, 12 years had passed. So, that much time goes by and you think pretty much no more sequels or any more work and related to something like that. But sure enough, Mikey J called me up and said, hey, dude, we need you to be the dude again. So I jumped in line and we did it again.
Yeah, that's amazing. So last time I had you on was in December, I think, last year.
Something like that.
Did you already know about the brain damage or the job?
Trying to think of the timeline on that. I think I might have found out not long after that. It may have been like January, February. When I was contacted by the producers of that game and Mike, of course, who is he's very much involved with a lot of that process because it's kind of his baby, as you know. Yeah. I don't know if you've interviewed Mike before or not, but he's a pretty big part of it, obviously, and he heads things up and likes to have his fingers in on a lot of the parts. So. Yeah, I think it was back in January, perhaps, when I started talking to the folks in Poland, I believe.
Oh, really?
The designers for Brain Damaged.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. I forgot what I want to say. You see?
That's okay. You're too young for that to happen. Come on, Ronald.
It happens. So what I wanted to ask is, how long did you already record everything for Postal or not yet?
No.
Okay, so there's still a lot to do.
Have you seen the demo version?
Oh, I have. Of course I have. Yeah.
That is actually all that has been created by me so far. The parts that I did for that.
Oh, really?
Yes, they have.
Wow.
They have not come back to finish it off at this point. And what are we in November? I was told by Mike, he thinks early in the new year that they will have the scripts finalized and that they'll be coming back around and needing my services for the full game. So what I did was just the demo at this point.
Yeah.
And so more to come still. I don't know what's taking so long or what their process is. I'm sure they've got it under control and they want to make sure all of their ships are in a line before they launch, into the deep sea. I hope I live up to your happiness expectations.
Well, I mean, when I've seen the trailer of Postal Brain Damage, I mean, I was amazed. I didn't even expect something like that could happen again. Like, first there was this I think text-to-speech voice, and then immediately when I heard the throat clearing, then I knew it was you.
Yep. No, that was it was fun to be a part of the preliminary work on that one so far. And to be honest with you, Ronald, I have not seen any of the script and the direction that it's going to go to for the full game that's coming out They
I
are
see.
still working on things and have not sent me any of the sides for it. So I'm kind of excited to see where it's going to go and what sort of dude shenanigans are going to happen, if you know what I mean,
Yeah,
and
I know.
that stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, well, I have a question over here from Curb Stomp the Pigeon. Is your voice naturally like that, or do you put on like do you put on a special voice for the dude? Do you regret nothing? Truly, do you truly regret nothing?
I completely don't regret anything. Now, the voice you hear, like the voice you're hearing right now, is just what comes out of my mouth when I open up to throw words in your direction. It's the voice that happened when I went through puberty, and I don't put anything on to affect it. Do I do some characterizations of it at some point? Well, yeah. I mean, you have to, get in character. You have to go through emotions, and when
Yeah,
you're doing different emotions, your voice changes a little bit, whether it gets more threatening and deeper sounding. When you need to be angry at somebody, do I change it for that? Well, kind of a little bit, but that's no different than what I would be doing if I were playing a sport and getting very aggressive towards something. It's just kind of what
yeah.
comes out when I say it, this, that, and the other. So that's an interesting question, and one that I've been asked many times in my life, because I spent a lot of years working in the radio industry, and
Yeah.
where nobody could see you.
Yeah.
And of course, every once in a while, I would come across people who had heard me on the radio, whether they be listeners or clients or so. And one of the first things out of their mouth is always, "Wow, that you are nothing like I imagined you would look like." First of all, because I'm not a very tall person, and they
Mm.
always think that I would be a much bigger, larger person because of the sound of my voice, which has nothing to do with the sound of your voice,
Yeah.
the size you are. There are other factors that factor into that. But to answer your question, Pigeon, this is just the sound of my voice, and try to exploit it as much as I can.
And we love it. We love the voice. And you really have the voice of a radio man. Actually, you really sound like you came right from the radio or something.
Well, it's kind of an old school radio sound, if you will, that is not so much longer a part of the industry. Things have really changed quite a bit over the last few years, more than in just radio. In the voiceover world in general,
Between
guys who sound like me are kind of being brushed aside a little bit for only very specific roles where they're looking for somebody who sounds deep and movie trailer and radio sounding,
yeah,
and maybe 5 to 10% of the actual work, and the rest of it is going to people who sound like everyday people who are very conversational and don't have the big baritone and the timbre and the commanding type voice, because the
yeah.
trend is now for everybody to just sound
Everybody.
like, for everybody in these, games and commercials for radio and TV and such, to sound just like everyday people. And I don't sound like an everyday people. I think
Mm-hmm.
even when I try, that's when it sounds unnatural. If I try to, because I can't raise. I mean, I can raise the pitch of my voice, of course, if I
Yeah.
get a little bit excited, but
Mm-hmm.
it depends on what the script is, and there are a lot of factors involved.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there you go. Does that answer the question?
I'm pretty sure it does. Yeah,
I don't even
definitely.
remember what the question was.
Well, we have another question here from Namers78. Have you played Postal 3?
I have not played Postal 3. I have watched quite a few clips of other people playing it online, and that is the extent of what I've done as far as seeing the game in the gameplay.
Ah, okay. Now I understand. Have you noticed any difference between, doing the dude back in like for Postal 3 and now for Postal Brain Damage? Have you noticed anything that differs?
From my perspective, as the voiceover guy for the dude, not really. I mean, of course, the technology for the graphics of the game and all of those enhancements are quite a bit different and far better than they used to be. As far as scripting, as far as the types of situations that the character finds himself in, pretty much along the same lines. I mean, it's the continuity of the character is really staying focused, I think, as far as the writing is concerned. And the crazy situations that the characters put into in the game are just as odd and outlandish as they were, I think, all the way back to the first Postal game.
Yeah.
So I don't, I mean, again, I can't tell you what direction Brain Damaged is going to go because I don't know exactly. There's a chance it could be quite different too, because I believe it's being written by a completely new set of people, writers and game producers over in Poland. So we'll just have to see.
Yeah, and I believe that for Postal 3, I think you didn't record in your home studio, or did you? I don't know.
Postal 3, no. I went to a local studio here in town and with the game producers and a director, and was in a booth for half or I don't know 6 hours, and did most of it there. And there were some parts of that I actually recorded in a different studio also.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Why is that?
Yep. Well, was it because Mike needed some additional things recorded after we did the main session? And so that at that point we had to do it somewhere else because we couldn't call up the guy whose studio we were using. Actually, he may not have even been in business anymore. The guy whose studio we initially used. I don't know what the story was behind that. I think it was that it was just easier for Mike and I for him to come to my studio, and we just got it done quickly, a few lines or one page or something, and turned it around that quickly and sent it off.
So I believe
everything that we're doing now that I'm a part of is recorded right here in my home studio.
That's exactly what I want to ask. Yeah.
I beat you to it.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I've heard you, of course, in Brain Damage, and I mean, you still got it. You're still amazing. I mean, nobody can say anything.
That's very flattering. I don't know what to other than thank you. I guess is what I'm supposed to say at this point.
Well, I'm pretty sure you also have a few new favorite lines. Do you remember anything?
There was so much. It was dozens and dozens and dozens of pages, of which I don't have in front of me right now. So, and I have a terrible memory too. So I can to go back in my brain and try to pull out a line off the top of my head. I can't really think of one at the moment. My apologies for that. But if you want to feed me a line and I'll say it.
No need for an apology.
Say if there's something you'd like the Postal.
I can't remember the lines either. I mean, I mean, there's just too many of them, and then your voice and Rick's voice kind of mix each other, and then there's just thousands of voice lines that hard to remember.
Yeah, I mean that's come on, champ. That's something I remember. Champ the dog, that is said numerous times in Postal 3. I don't know if Champ will make an appearance in Brain Damaged. There's a possibility.
He better does. Well, the Postal Dude in Brain Damage is going through a hard time, so we better give him some rest.
It sounds like his world is being turned upside down once again.
Yeah. I mean,
It-
his world is always turned upside down, but this time it's a little over the top.
mhm.
Well, we have a request over here from Adanalo. Could you please get him to say, well, you always were a kidder, Steve, for a friend? Thanks.
Well, you always were a kidder, Steve.
Yeah, that's it.
Just that?
Yeah,
Is that what you want?
that's what I wanted. Okay. We have another question over here from Robert. What do you think about people enjoying the postal games?
I am 100% for that. What people find to do with their spare time and harmless activities where they're having fun safely, whether it be playing video games, playing sports, sightseeing, hiking on a mountain, all of those things I think are fantastic. People playing Postal specifically, if that's their thing, if they were, drawn into the game way back, Postal 1, 2, or 3, or whatever it took, and it's their thing. I think it's fantastic. I'm all
Yeah.
about safe gaming.
um, a second question. How much improv was in the new game? Well, you only recorded the demos so far, but
Yeah, zero. It is all very scripted, and no, I am not riffing, if that's what you're asking.
Okay,
It's
I see.
it's all right there in front of me. Say it like it is, and it occasionally will change because when Mike is here, he's literally, see the stool over there, and I don't know if you can see it
Yeah, I
in my
can.
room here. Mike sits over there and literally is over my shoulder directing me for every single line. No, he's not over my show. That's exaggerated. He's in here and he likes to hear it all, and he's actually quite hands off with the way I'm saying the lines. He just kind of lets me go through it. And if he hears one line that he kind of hears in his head differently, he'll say, let's try it this way. And so I'll do that line again. And then we move on to the next line. That's more or less, that's kind of the process that we go through. But there is very little to no ad-libbing or improving of scripts.
Yeah.
During the sessions.
Mm-hmm. So do you go like when you do the dude, do you go for like a specific American accent that, you want him to sound like, or perhaps Mike wants him to sound like?
The way the character comes out in me is he is a little bit burned out, maybe a little bit hungover. He's considerably angry internally. He rarely has a good day. And so you put all of those things together, and that's kind of the voice that comes out as the character. For me, he's not a happy-go-lucky, bubbly, and every once in a while he's kind of having fun when, in the middle of a game somewhere where he's battling whoever or whatever, and those lines come off a little, cheeky, if you will, at times. But for the most part, he's generally just trying to figure out his way through really crappy situations, and therefore it's he's just kind of gritting his teeth a little bit and moving on. That's the guy who comes out in it for the most part. That's my character analysis of the dude in Postal.
It's really amazing how you and Rick kind of sound similar. And there's a question over here from Josh. How was the audition process like for Postal 3?
For Postal 3?
Yeah.
The easiest audition I think I've ever had. This was one of those referred by a friend thing. And Mike called me on the phone one day because we had never met. He had gotten my number from somebody else, and he heard me on the phone and I think he was sold that day before even coming to the studio and doing any test recordings or anything. And then that's kind of how that went. It wasn't the kind of thing I had heard from a different source and then went and auditioned for, which is completely the opposite of the way I'm doing things now with my voiceover business. Like that when I said it was the easiest audition ever, it was because I was more or less, I don't know who else or how many other people might have even been a part of that process, who they might have been considering. So it was, I wish all auditions could be like that. That'd be great.
Another question from Josh. Is there like a dream character or role that would you like to play in the future?
I think it'd be really fun to be a military officer in a high profile video game.
Yeah, you'd
Like,
fit a commander or something. Yeah.
Yeah, some kind of a commander or a colonel or a general or something like that. I think I could fill that role pretty well. Or the bad guys who are being hunted by the special teams or a special operations military unit. A group of bad guys.
Yeah.
That's kind of the role that I think I would fulfill pretty well.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I'm surprised you over the years you didn't have a role like that before, or did you?
Well, honestly, I mean, because I was my primary job in the radio station group that I worked for kept me so busy for 27 years that was my full-time job, and I wasn't out there looking for a lot of other things or opportunities like that then, like I am now. So I do now spend a great deal of my time here in the studio auditioning for video games, for commercials, and other voice acting roles. And I have auditioned for a variety of different video games and gotten very few of them as castings for myself so far. I did a trailer for a video game that I can't talk about, but I will just be on the trailer for it at this point. But that's not coming out until early next year, so I can't talk about that one either. But that was a kind of a cool one to be a part of.
So it's a video game.
It's a video game.
Okay. Okay. Well, if it's Call of Duty or something, then we're excited, whatever it is. We have a question over here from Michael. Can you say chunky salsa?
Chunky salsa. Delicious chunky salsa.
Exactly.
I love delicious chunky salsa with
Everybody
cheese
should.
on chips. Yep.
Yeah. I actually asked this before, but Lego Man is asking if you ever thought you'd, reprise the role.
Yeah, again, not really, because so much time had passed and it seemed like that had come and gone and wouldn't ever be resurrected. I was quite surprised when Mikey J called up and said, let's we're doing this and this. Are you interested in doing it? And I, of course, said, well, sure.
Well, yeah. It's work for you. Yeah.
Yeah, let's get it going.
Yeah. What did you know about the dude, before Postal 3, Did you know anything about it, him or?
Very little. I had heard about some controversy involved in it and a variety of things. And it wasn't something that I had been a part of in my life and my lifestyle, because I wasn't into gaming. I was raising a young daughter at the time and working full time and all of that stuff. So it wasn't really a part of my world. And what I did with my free time outside of work and daughter was very different than gaming. So I didn't really know a lot about it. And it was also, early days of the internet. So there wasn't a whole lot of going and searching and finding out about it back then either. Not to mention, I really didn't spend the time or wasn't really that interested in finding out about things like that.
Yeah,
so I didn't have a whole lot. But once I was approached by Running with Scissors to do it, then I, of course, looked in and found out more about it and decided, well, sure, why not? They're going to offer me this much money. Sure. Yeah, I'll give that a try. Hell yeah.
Were you nervous when you went in to record for Postal 3 for the first time?
There is usually a level of nerves that comes into play whenever I'm involved in any recording that is something that's going to be permanent. There's a lot on the line, of course, and you have to think about all of that and try to calm your nerves and then perform at the time. So a little bit, it doesn't have to do with, yeah, to rewind a little bit. All those years in radio that I did, a good portion of that was spent as a DJ on the air, talking to thousands of people daily. And that didn't bother me at all. No nerves at all. Easy to do. And also to record commercials, because generally you're by yourself recording a commercial in the radio industry, especially, and without a whole bunch of people looking over your shoulder. So that's not a nervous thing. But going in to record Postal that day, there were 4 or 5 people there in the studio witnessing the process and such. So that might have come into play a little bit for nerves for me, because I wasn't used to having people observe me, watch me while I was working. So that was a little bit odd, but not nervous to the point where it affected the performance. Once I get going on something, you have to be in the moment. You put all that noise aside and just jump in and get the job done. Because if you're not 100% there while you're doing the character, it's going to show.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You got to let all the noise just disappear and step up to the mic and literally and do it unabashed.
How was the experience, of getting back to the Postal Dude for brain damage? Like after not doing the Dude for some time, 12 years, how was it? Just getting called up by Mike and going back to record.
So interestingly enough, what I did was went online and searched for segments of people playing Postal 3, so I could review my work and see what I was doing back then, because I wanted to obviously emulate that as precisely as I could now. We didn't want it to sound like 2 totally different guys coming from 2 different perspectives. We wanted it to be that same Postal Dude. So I was able to find quite a few snippets and sound bites of people playing the game. Of somebody had actually put together a 3 or 4 minute long edited version of dozens and dozens and dozens of my quotes from Postal 3. And it was actually kind of entertaining. I really enjoyed listening to it, number one. Number two, it was perfect for me to listen to before I started doing new sessions for Running with Scissors and Brain Damaged and such. So that was a process and I have actually gone back a couple more times and listened to kind of get back into the feel of how I did it before, to make sure I'm staying consistent and doing the character in the same way now.
I see.
I want to thank whoever that was. I should have written down the YouTube name of the person who put that together. That was pretty cool. So I'd like to thank them for doing that. Can't believe they spent all that time doing it. That just blows me away, that somebody took all my work like that and put it together in a medley, if you will.
Well, I think it might have been, I don't want to miscredit someone. Might have been Rufus, who, included all the Postal Dude voice lines in one video. Might have been him. If it wasn't him,
I don't know. It wasn't a video. It was a still shot of the dude.
Yeah.
And then just all audio snippets.
Yeah, that's
edited
Rufus.
together.
Yeah. That's Rufus.
The name did not say Rufus. The screen name said something different. That I know. I don't remember exactly what it was though. But Rufus doesn't sound familiar. But either way, hey, well, if Rufus is doing things like that too, hey Rufus, thank you.
He did that 3 years ago. Yeah. So thank you so much for doing that.
All right.
We have a request over here from Robert. Can you say, I am the vengeance. I am the night. I am your regular postal dude.
I am the vengeance. I am the night. I am your regular postal dude.
As always, flattering. Next.
Did I say it all right?
You captured it the best way you could. We have a question over here. Some people know that you're personal friends with Rick Hunter. How is he doing these days? Because we don't know a lot about him.
I haven't talked with Rick for many months now. As far as I know, he's doing all right. Mike was in here recently when we were doing the brain damage, and he said he had visited with Rick and that Rick's doing okay. And as far as I know, Rick is still doing voiceover. He has 2 gigs like I used to. He has his radio station gig, and he does a bunch of freelance work on the side, and he is still continuing to do that. And I believe he's doing all right. I don't know. I need to call him and set up lunch or something because we live here in the same city.
Yeah, you guys live in Arizona. What's the weather over there?
90 degrees today am I allowed to say what day it is? I know this will air later. What's today? November 5th? 90 degrees.
90 degrees. Yeah. I heard that it's like always pretty hot in Arizona, you know.
Well, it is except the end of November through April are really nice here. Like almost perfect weather, very little rain, and usually sunny, and 70 degrees, 75 degrees most of the days, which is perfect.
I see. We have a question here from Smart Pineapple.
Smart Pineapple.
Okay. Yeah. How close are you to the character of Dude?
How much is Corey like the dude?
How much is Corey like the dude?
Interesting question. Well, the only way I can really answer it is to be fully honest. I'm not going to make up some stuff about how, well, yeah, I'm a total badass, and I wander the desert and in an old RV with my scrappy little dog, and because that's not my life at all. I'm a longtime married guy with a grown adult daughter who's getting married next year. I live in a decent house with 2 nice dogs and my beautiful wife, and I drive a car that's not a beat up old truck. Personality wise, I think I might have a little more sense of reality than the dude, as far as being pretty straight laced and on an even keel. I don't want to burst anybody's bubble, but it's a character, you know, and I like going into that character because I think that's probably the most fun type of character to play. Somebody with some edge like that, who is not normal, who is put in these crazy circumstances that, you know, pretty much you and I are never going to be in, and then you get to play with it and have fun with it, as opposed, you know, and as opposed to a nice friendly character who, you know, a guy and his girlfriend, and they're out at a sunny beach vacation, just, you know, being normal, and you know, nobody wants to play that character. Well, no offense, I'm sure people play those characters all the time on TV and stuff, but this kind of character, especially when you can't see my face, you know, who are in just the voice, it's a lot of fun to do, even though it's a very different person than who I am. personally. Yeah, I guess. So I think I answered the question.
Yeah, you did. I have this question because, we talked about this, and you're still credited as Corey Cruz in the Postal games. And, technically, you could be credited as Corey Candray in the credits. And, on IMDb, you could be like set it up somehow, like credited as Corey Candray. So, you could still use your like real name in Postal.
Could. To be honest with you, I am not concerned about any of that and the crediting of it. The name thing, the only reason it was Cruz in the first place is because that's the name I used as a stage name on the radio as a DJ. I more or less stopped being a DJ around 1999, sometime around then. And at that time, I had become the full-time director of production at this radio station group, where I didn't have to be on the air and have a pretend radio name and all that. So at that point, assumed, of course, well, and in every other part of my life, my legal name, which is Corey Candray. And there was no reason for it. But prior to that, I had done, oh, no, wait a minute. Okay, so no, that was in the 2000, it was like 2006. Mike was introduced to me as Corey Cruz because that's how the person who told him about me, that's what they told him my name was. And so we barely even discussed it. And he had put it as the credits in the game. And I just at the time said, that's great. That's fine. Just use that. It's a better sounding name anyway. But in every other aspect of my life, I use my legal name, and in my business today, it's my legal name, and the only residual remaining thing with the Cruz on it is the Postal games that I'm a part of.
Well, yeah, now it's games because Postal 3 and Postal Brain Damage, and I'm pretty sure you also were in Postal 2 Paradise Lost, something like that. Oh, that's right. Yeah,
yep, so we did some stuff for that.
And I think you also were like a doctor or something in Postal Redux, but I'm not sure about that.
Maybe.
It's not something that you need to be able to remember, if it was like a little role or something, But going back to last year's interview, I remember you mentioned your band, Vintage Sugar. I'm not sure if you guys are still together or not. But so how's that going for you? Music?
That particular band ended quite a long time ago. For the past 5 years, I've been involved in a different band called Drop D, and it is a lot of fun. We're a hard rock band that plays around Arizona in different cities, and we've even gotten to go over to Las Vegas and play there once a couple of years ago. We did that. And we've also had the opportunity to be the backup band for a couple of actual rock stars, which was a lot of fun. That was a good experience. We got to 2 or 3 times now, we've gotten the opportunity to play with a guy named Mark Slaughter, who is the singer and a guitarist for the band Slaughter. And we've also done some stage performances with the singer from Warrant, Robert Mason. So it's been a lot of fun. I'm a bass player, and to get up on stage and rock out at my age and do this for the people who still like that kind of music, which there is still a very large segment of people who really enjoy that sort of entertainment. It's a lot of fun to be doing at this age. Thank you for asking about it. In fact, tonight I have to leave early to the end of this interview and head up to Phoenix because we're doing a gig up there tonight.
Oh, really? Good luck with that. What instruments do you play?
I'm a bass guitarist, and I can also play a little bit of guitar, a little bit of piano, and a little bit of drums, but the only one I'm proficient on is the bass guitar.
How about vocals?
I do some what we call background gang vocals. So the choruses of the songs, I jump up to the microphone and do a little bit of singing, but not lead vocals ever. It's not my thing. That's for certain people, not me.
I was curious about this. What makes a good voice actor?
A lot of things: persistence, practice, learning from others, making connections, constantly training, being coached by people who are qualified to be coaches,
Mm-hmm.
having a passion for doing it. And then after all that stuff, having a decent, pleasant enough to listen to voice, because that is not the most important thing. All those other things, it's the training, the connections, and the coaching. All of that stuff is really important, because it's not as easy as it sounds or looks. A lot of people might think that, oh, I've got a computer and a microphone, I can just do this. Why not? Well, very few people can just jump right in and do it. You're pretty lucky if you meet the right people at the right time, and you're the perfect person for that particular role, and you've never done it before in your life, and the casting people say, oh, that's the person, and they get hired. Good for you, nice job.
Yeah.
But it's a 1 in 1,000 chance that you're going to get that without all that other stuff, in front of it first. Not to say that you can't go out and buy a high quality microphone, have a decent computer setup, and an understanding of the software, the editing software that you're using, to where you can, put all the pieces together and do it from your home. That's another part of the equation, is having an environment that you can do it in appropriately, because you need to have the room modified, or have a special booth in your house that cuts down on all the reflections and the outside noise and all that other stuff. So there are a variety of things that go into it. What was your question? Did you ask what makes a good voiceover person?
Yeah.
All of that stuff, and then luck. I'm just making stuff up.
Yeah.
No,
What would you recommend to the voice actors, like from your own personal perspective, to the voice actors who, want to start out?
Find somebody who will coach you. Listen to radio, television, internet commercials. Listen to training videos. Watch animated series. Listen closely to each character and what that person's doing and how they're interacting. Have an understanding of audio and acoustics. That's very important, because today so much of it is being done out of people's houses that you're not walking into a professional studio for the most part anymore. It's especially it was all heading kind of this direction pre-pandemic, but now the technology has made it to where the way you and I are connecting here for this interview, to where everybody can do it out of their homes. So you need to have a good understanding of audio recording basics and principles, so you can put the best audition in you can for the potential work you're trying to get, because those casting directors are listening to the sound, the quality of your environment, your studio, your equipment, your type of microphone, when they're evaluating those auditions. So all of that stuff adds up. And if what you're sending them has snap, crackle, pop, hiss and noise and echoes and reflections all over it, they're going to immediately move it to the discard pile and listen to the next one. Even if your performance is great, you'll get excluded. So you have to put all those pieces together and be a pro about it, because you're competing with hundreds, thousands of other pros who are trying to do the same thing, trying to get that same job that you're getting.
Yeah. There's a lot of voice actors that still don't have like a home studio, and they just audition, and maybe they get the job or they don't get the job, and then they go over to a studio. Uh, Home studios are mostly now required for such work, and not everybody is able to set up a home studio, or
Right.
so sometimes it's complicated for
Oh,
voice
sure.
actors.
I totally understand. Yep.
Yeah.
You have to find a way, whether you situate yourself in a closet to do your recordings in your house, which a lot of people do, or just build a blanket box in your room you could set up over here that you crawl into with a flashlight and your script on your phone or whatever.
Yeah.
And record it. But there, don't get me wrong, there are, of course, still many situations where you will go into a studio, depending upon where you live, of course. If you live in Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, you're going into a studio frequently. Most other places, I don't know what this situation is like in Europe, but that's here in the United States. Those are the three main areas for going into studios to do recordings like that. But for the most part, it is, especially during the pandemic, has become the thing to be able to record right out of your house. I have done it many times over the last year and a half of the pandemic, where I put my headphones on and I'm listening in my ears to some guy in Chicago and somebody in Texas, and listening to their direction, and I do the thing, and we're connected over whichever means of connection, whether it be Zoom or Source Connect or Skype, and they direct me just as though they're in the next room. And the sound quality is every bit as good as you and I are hearing right now over this call. And that is very much par for the course that I've experienced over the last year and a half of working out of my house. I don't have to be in Los Angeles. I don't have to be in New York.
That's kind of the thing. Like, if you have a home studio and you are able to deliver, professionally recorded voiceover recordings from your home, it's just easier for you. You don't have to go into the studio. You can just record it right out of your home, and it's better for you.
You don't have to live in a crazy busy place like Los Angeles or New York or something like that, which I really don't have any desire to. I love to visit places like that.
Yeah.
I don't really want to live there. But yes, as you're absolutely right in that, yes, so many people, it's not as easy to just put together a home studio. But if you are passionate about it and think that it's something you really want to go forward and do to try to make a living or to make a little, side job out of, those are the things you have to do to get you have to figure it out how to do a little home studio. And it's a whole lot less expensive now than it was 10, 15, 20 years ago. I mean, that's for sure. As you know, the prices of computers are so far down. Your number one investment is going to be the quality of microphone you get.
Yeah.
That is muy importante, as we say in Spanish.
You speak Spanish?
Hablo poquito español, amigo.
Okay, that was cool.
That's the dude speaking Spanish.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I want to refer to. And of course, make sure to have a voice over reel demo, whatever you want to call it. Do you have one?
Oh, I didn't even go into the whole demo situation. Yeah, that is, wow, how could I forget that? That is numero uno. You have to have voice demos, at least one. One commercial. You start with one commercial demo, and the best way to do that is to have somebody else do it for you. I speak from experience on that, because you can get so inside your head as far as what you think you sound good on and versus what you really sound good on. And to have somebody else's ears and thought process on all of that is the way to go. You want to have somebody who's experienced do it. There are many, many services out there and people and companies who provide demo production services. It's easy to find on the internet. There are, probably hundreds. But to have somebody do that, because they will assess you, what you sound like now, what your experience level is. They will gather all of the appropriate scripts that they think you should record during the sessions, and then they will take the best of the stuff that you recorded and the different snippets and edit it together into a 60-second demo, which is, you don't want your demo any longer than that.
Yeah, at least 60, yeah.
And it does cost money to have somebody do that, but the return on investment it can be very much worth it. And if you're going to be serious about doing it, that's the kind of thing you have to do is trust in investing in yourself.
Exactly. This is what the casting directors or perhaps the potential clients will hear. And
that's, usually their first, you do that so you can be made aware of by agencies. If you want to get an agent in New York, Chicago, LA, wherever, you have to have a demo that you can send to that agency requesting to be a part of their talent roster. You can't just call them up on the phone and say, hey, I've got a great voice and I'd love to be in commercials. Can I be on your talent roster? No, you have to have an MP3 demo that you send them in a formal email, and that you might hear back from them 2 to 3 to 4 months later saying, oh, well, we liked your demo. We'd like to have you on our roster. And at that point, that's when you start receiving audition opportunities from them. So that's one route. The other route is there are a lot of voiceover sites online, of course, that you can be a part of, which aren't necessarily agents, but in a way they are, because they connect you with clients who are putting out auditions for whatever their product is or service. So client X will go on to this voiceover site and put up their script and say, we want it to sound like this person in a friendly conversational manner. And here's part of the script, read it, attach your audition here, and move on. Well, in order to be on that site to begin with, you have to have a demo tape.
Exactly.
A demo. It sounds like, I'm preaching to the choir with you, but that's basically the process.
That's the process. Yeah. That's how it is. And that's how you guys can also perhaps hire Corey for, the voiceover jobs. If you want him to say something as a Postal Dude, you can either go up to, I think, voice123.com, is it?
I am a part of that platform. That is the only one that I am currently on. And I do have my own website also, which was recently updated.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, I'll include those in the description. So if people perhaps want you to say something as the Postal Dude, or perhaps, as a more original form of character, they can hire you,
Absolutely. Yeah, I would encourage people, please go to my website, and on there you can find my email address, and I respond to all emails sent directly to me, and I'm happy to at least consider what you're requesting of me to do.
Just don't be afraid to reach out to him, because many people, are afraid or perhaps
Oh
don't
my
have, you
goodness.
know, they are afraid to reach out because maybe you would say no. So he will respond, and you know, I'm sure you guys and the fans will be able to, like, you know, make up a deal or something. Just don't be
Absolutely.
afraid.
I'm more than happy to talk with people, even just, you know, if that's all you want to do is just say hello and
Yeah.
exchange a few courtesies and such. That's great too. I recently, out of the blue, I got an email from a fellow in Sweden who was working on his own personal project over the next 4 to 6 months, and he wanted some voiceover stuff done for it. And we worked out a small fee, and he was really thrilled with how it came out. I can't talk about any personal details on who he is and what he's doing, but I'm more than happy to investigate doing things like that for people. And again, just to talk to people. And gosh, don't be afraid. The postal dude Corey he's not that mean. Grr. He's he's more than happy to, especially during the pandemic when I've been sitting here in my house with my two dogs mostly and my wife for the last year and a half. Any chances I get to interact with people are fantastic.
Yeah, so if you're a fan of you know, Corey, just reach out to him, say hi, and I'm pretty sure he can assure you guys that he will respond. Maybe in a day, maybe in a few hours, whenever
If
he gets the
the
time.
if the email gets through to me and it's not spam or junk or obviously some sort of garbage email, then if it's a human being on the other end and I can tell that it is, I'm going to reply to that email.
Is there anything the dude has to say about the VŌC podcast?
The VŌC Podcast is so cool, and I'm so privileged and honored to be invited back for a second round of the VŌC Podcast. Thank you so much, Ronald Hamrack. Did I say your name right?
You did. The pleasure is mine, Corey. Thank you for, you know, accepting my invite for the second time, and, you know, perhaps be prepared for the third time in the future.
Count me in when the time comes. Listen, kiddo, I don't know about you, but I just loved this. Make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the VŌC Podcast. And now, if you excuse me, I have some important stuff to take care of. Salutations.